By the end of this video, you're going to be able to talk about good TV shows, bad TV shows, terrible TV shows, and the process that they go through in starting off amazing and ending in an absolute car crash. I'm also going to show you how to use ChatGPT to really engage with the English language when talking about TV shows. And if you want to get to that part, it's just at the end, so feel free to skip ahead to the ChatGPT part. But I guarantee you, you're going to learn some amazing shit in this podcast. Are you ready? Here we go. Oh, by the way, my name is Ronan. I have a free Telegram group. You should absolutely check it out. It's down there. I have a mailing list. If you're not on it, fuck you. You should be. Otherwise, keep listening for some great English lessons. Bye for now. Good morning, you beautiful English learners. So today, we're talking about the rise and fall of TV shows. So a while back, one of my students asked me how to describe something that is worse than it was before. For instance, TV shows. The first 5 seasons of The Office are great, and others are like hit and miss. And at the end, it's somewhat shitty. And yes, that is a common problem. That is a very common problem when it comes to TV shows for a bevy of reasons. A bevy of reasons. Did you hear that? Bevy of. There's an interesting one. I have a funny story about that. I'll save it for another time. Anyways, for a wide range of reasons, for a lot of reasons, for many reasons, for a bevy of reasons, TV shows tend to become crap, tend to become shit. And it's very frustrating when you're watching a TV show that you once loved, that you once cherished, and you watch it go to the dogs. You watch it go downhill. You watch it peter out. You watch it become predictable. You watch it become repetitive. And it is incredibly upsetting and frustrating. So think about the TV shows that you like. Think about the TV shows that you're currently watching. I just finished watching Three Body Problem on Netflix. That's a good show. Bit of a mindfuck of a TV show, a mind fuck. And that's when it fucks with your mind and gets you thinking about existential things, about things bigger than life. Another show that my wife and I recently rewatched. Now, we didn't rewatch all of it, but we rewatched quite a lot, would be Scrubs. Scrubs. And if you're looking for a bit of comic relief in your day, if you're looking for a way to just relax and unwind and laugh with short 20-25 minute episodes, I highly recommend Scrubs. Freaking hilarious. It's also one of those shows that is quite serious at times. So, you know, it's hilarious, and then boom, they drop an emotional bomb on you, essentially. It's based in a hospital. It's set in modern times, or like 10 years ago, actually 20 years ago, maybe, I don't know. I feel old now. Oh my God, it would be about 20 years ago. Holy shit. And yeah, give it a go. But that show is an example of a show that went one season too long. So here's the thing about these TV shows. They tend to continue long past the expiry date, as we might say. And with Scrubs, I must actually look it up because I would be interested to know why they continued with an extra season. But, you know, on season 7 or 8, I can't remember, it looked like it was all over. They had a grand finale. It was beautiful. And then a new season started with new characters. And I think it got cancelled, or it got canned after one season. So like the reboot of it, a reboot of a TV show is when they remake a TV show. So you find a TV show from the past and you make it again. There's many reboots of movies coming out now. And a reboot of a movie, you know, so they get the story, they cast new actors, they get new writers, and they tell the same story again. It's quite frustrating with how many reboots there are today, and I think we'd all appreciate more original shows and movies. Anywho, let's talk about shows, and with my student's example of The Office, how the first 5 seasons are great, others are hit and miss. So we could say it went downhill fast. That show went downhill. That show went downhill fast. or that show went slowly downhill. And if it goes slowly downhill, there's a good episode here, a good episode there, but as time goes on, the bad episodes start to outnumber the good episodes. Predictable is another one. If a show becomes predictable, it gets very boring very quick. I think some episodes of like Criminal Minds, which is like a cop show, I guess, or an FBI show, is an example of this. And we see it in many TV shows. We see this same arc going around and around and around, whereby it starts off with something bad, the protagonists do something good, the protagonists fail, it looks like they're going to lose, and they win in the end every single time. And it's like a cookie cutter TV show where it's the same process again and again and again. And I remember when I was in college watching Criminal Minds, and it was exactly like that. The first 10 minutes are just terrible. And then the next 10 minutes, the FBI are doing well. And then the next 10 minutes, the FBI are not doing well. And it looks like the killer is going to win or the killer is going to get away. And then in the last 10 minutes, guess what? It all comes back together. It is the same shit every single time. I think I heard people say the same about House. House, Dr. House or whatever it is. That one there apparently is quite predictable, whereby it starts off, they don't know what's happening, they don't know what to do, they struggle, and then Dr. House saves the day, for instance. So that would be an example of a show being predictable. Very infuriating if you're watching a predictable TV show. Other times when we're talking about these, we could say fizzle out. That TV show fizzled out. It was amazing at the start, but then it fizzled out. Then it didn't become as good as it could have been. And it slowly died. It's not as if you can pinpoint one episode where everything went wrong, but the negatives start to outweigh the positives, and that would mean it fizzled out. It slowly became less popular. We can also say, we can criticize the writers. For example, Game of Thrones. Good Lord, those writers really shit the bed in that one, didn't they? To shit the bed. I would say the writers have given up. The writers had no foresight. The writers had no creativity. The writers lost the rails. The writers did not know what to do. And if they give up, they just don't care anymore. And it showed. Game of Thrones is probably the best example of how to ruin a great TV show and a great franchise. Like, absolutely. That show got off to the best start ever, the most thundering start you can imagine to TV shows. It was exciting. It was fun. It was global. Everyone was watching it. But at some point, the writers just woke up and smoked crack instead of actually writing a good story. And it shows. There's so many loose ends. There's so many stories that don't get finished. There's so many contradictories. The character arcs are all wrong. Don't get me started on Jaime fucking Lannister. That still pisses me off with his arc. The arc, by the way, ARC, is your character's journey from start to finish almost, and it's kind of like something big happens in the middle and it might change them or not. But if the writers give up, it will affect everything to do with it. So can you think of a show where you might say, oh, the writers gave up, the writers shot the bed in that one, or one day the writer decided crack was more fun than actually writing? So many ways to talk about it. Crack is a drug. Don't do crack, like meth. Let me see. I've written down some notes, obviously, and the next one I have is to milk. They milked that show for as many seasons as possible. So if they milk a TV show, they're trying to get every last bit of milk from that TV show, and milk obviously being money in this case. You can just say how a show should have ended 3 seasons ago. It went on too many seasons. It went on 3 seasons too long, for example. I used to think that was going to happen with Breaking Bad. That Breaking Bad went on 1 season too long, but no, absolutely didn't. For me, Breaking Bad is like one of the perfections of TV shows. So if you're looking for something amazing to immerse yourself into, Breaking Bad. Character development is on point. The writing is fantastic. The plot is sensational. The turning points, the arcs that the characters have, the way the writers make you feel sympathy for certain characters, the way the writer makes you hate certain characters and how your emotions and feelings towards different characters changes as the show goes on, I shit you not, Breaking Bad is a must watch. So if you haven't seen Breaking Bad, fuck you for starters, but it's not too late. You can still do it, alright? So, alright, another one that we could talk about for, say, a show that gradually loses its steam or gradually loses momentum, to peter out. Peterout. And to peter out is very similar to fizzle out, where it slowly becomes less popular and not relevant or something along those lines. So a beautiful phrase there. That show petered out. I kind of gave up watching it after a couple of seasons. What happened in the end? I think I used to watch The Blacklist. That was it. There was a show called The Blacklist. There we go. Now there's another show that is absolutely predictable. So earlier I spoke about Criminal Minds. Well, The Blacklist is guilty of the same idea of being predictable. The show starts off with Red, the main character, telling the task force something. They struggle. They do well. They struggle. They win. More or less every single time. Every single episode follows that cycle. So that was very predictable. And that show absolutely petered out. Similar to Scrubs, where it went on 2 or 3 seasons too long. It went on a season too long. They didn't need to have that extra season at the end, but they wanted the money. That's another thing about the Scrubs one. I need to look up and find out how much the actors are paid, because like they had said they were done with it. But it's so funny when you hear an actor say, I'm done with that role. I'm never doing this again. I'm never doing that again or something. And then in reality, it's like someone comes along with a wad of cash. You're like, well, I guess I could do another season. I'd absolutely sell out. So to peter out, to be predictable, peter out, to fizzle out, to run out of steam. Let me see. Another one I have is to jump the shark. And I looked that one up because it's might be generational, perhaps. Could definitely be geographical for Americans. But the TV show Happy Days, the Happy Days was a huge one, absolutely huge one. And so to jump the shark essentially means that it is the moment a TV show has lost all its quality, and the moment a TV show is doing something extreme to try and be remembered, doing something extreme to try and, I don't know, get more people watching it. And in the TV show Happy Days, the main character literally tries to jump over a shark on a freaking jet ski or something like that. And it has become known as a cultural idiom for TV shows when they're trying desperately to hold on to the viewers. They do something absolutely batshit crazy. So if you hear someone say, well, that episode jumped the shark, or someone might say, so when did they jump the shark in that TV show? Well, it was about season 5 when they did blah, 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 blah. So that is what we mean by jump the shark. Something crazy happens, something extreme, something absolutely out of this world, ludicrous happens, and it's just stupid. I looked up some examples. Another example, here's a spoiler for Lost. I've never got into that TV show, but many fans feel the show lost its way and jumped the shark when the main character suddenly gained superpowers. Is that true? Does the main character in Lost have superpowers? So sorry if you're watching Lost. There's much better TV shows out there, so I'm kind of not sorry. I might have done you a favor, but that would be an example where the main character suddenly has superpowers. And you're like, well, that's stupid. That's kind of odd, isn't it? So, those are all phrases we can use. Run out of steam was another one. Went off the rails was another one. To go off the rails. To lose its way. You know, these are all phrases that my student could use for talking about The Office, where it got off to such a wonderful start and then kind of shit the bed. So then it got me thinking just about other phrases that we could use, other things that we could talk about. And here's just a list. Gripping is positive, hilarious, heartwarming, riveting, thought-provoking, emotional, suspenseful, action-packed, dystopian. Now, there's one that's quite popular these days, dystopian. Fallout is a new TV show, and it's set in the dystopian future. And that is like a very bleak and futuristic world. The Walking Dead is a bit dystopian. Uplifting, mysterious, intriguing, dark, whimsical, or insightful. All of those are different adjectives, and you can use those for movies. Most of those are positive. In fact, all of those are positive. Even dark TV shows are positive because some people want the dark TV shows. That's what they're looking for. Now, here are some phrases that are quite good. A cult classic. Cult classic. Think about a movie that has a very large fan base. Not huge, not global, but a large fan base who can know all the words off by heart. It's a cult classic. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. There's a cult classic American movie, for instance. Dazed and Confused is another one. In Ireland, a cult classic movie would be War of the Buttons. Like, I don't know one Irish person that hasn't seen that movie. That's a cult classic at this stage. We could talk about a TV show being binge-worthy. So for me, Breaking Bad is absolutely binge-worthy. I feel sorry for people who watch that today. Because when I was watching it, it was coming out. So we had to wait like 1 week between episodes. But for that week, you're thinking about it a lot. Me and my buddies used to go get high and talk about Breaking Bad so much. And we're like, what's Walt going to do next? I can't believe they ended a TV show like that. I don't like how this character is going. This is weird. I used to like this character, but not anymore. And because we had to wait a week in between episodes, it kind of gave us time to process what was happening. It kind of gave us time to really appreciate it. Now, the worst thing was when it came to the end of a season, you had to wait a couple of months, maybe a year for the next episode. But I'll always remember the series finale, not even season finale, the end of Breaking Bad. And I was in the USA. Now, usually, I'd watch it in Ireland, and it was aired on a Sunday night, I think, which meant Monday afternoon we could watch it in Ireland. With the time difference, with the download speeds of the internet back then, it took so long to download something online. And I was in the USA this summer when Breaking Bad finale was coming out, and I had a few friends in the US that were also into it. And I remember I had to not text my Irish friends because I was ahead of them, and I couldn't wait for them to watch it. But anytime I'd turn on the TV, anytime you would hear people talking about TV shows, it was nearly always Breaking Bad. You turn on the TV, you'd see a commercial for Breaking Bad, season finale, next Sunday at 9 on AMC or whatever it was. And by God, the hype around that TV show was something else. The hype around it was something else. The hype was amazing. The hype was sensational. It was such a fun time to be into TV shows, I guess. And since then, I haven't really seen anything that has been on the same level. Like, there's great TV shows out there, do not get me wrong. But Breaking Bad is just critically acclaimed. It's a fan favorite. It's award-winning. It is definitely binge-worthy. Character-driven, plot-driven, dialogue-heavy. So many different ways that we can talk about TV shows. Now here's a question. I spoke about Scrubs earlier. And Scrubs being freaking hilarious. Scrubs being one of the funniest TV shows that you can watch. And I would say that is a TV show that is a roller coaster of emotions. A roller coaster of emotions. Because in some episodes, it's hilarious, it's serious, and heartbreaking all at the same time. The writers are fantastic in Scrubs. Those early seasons, they're absolutely amazing. How they really get you to empathize with the characters. And yeah, there's a lot of over-the-topness in the TV show. That's part of it. But when they get to being something serious, Scrubs, 10 out of 10. So, a roller coaster of emotions. What's the last TV show that literally made you laugh out loud? Laugh out loud. And if so, you can call that TV. You can say, oh, that is an absolute laugh out loud funny TV show. That's a laugh out loud TV show. Scrubs, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, What We Do in the Dark. All those TV shows are laugh out loud funny. You're sitting there and suddenly you'll burst out laughing. I do love a TV show that actually does that. Scrubs also tugs at your heartstrings. Tug at your heartstrings. So to tug is a verb, which means like to pull, I guess. And your heartstrings would be your emotions. And Scrubs certainly does that. It certainly tugs at your heartstrings and makes you really cry, I guess, at times. It's so good. A TV show could be full of twists and turns, which would be Criminal Minds, but then it's also predictable. A guilty pleasure. All right, so when I was in college, in my 3rd and 4th year, I lived in a house with some buddies. And I don't know why, but Grey's Anatomy was big at the time. And I guess it was like my guilty pleasure, Grey's Anatomy, which I've only ever seen 1 season of. I thought it was decent, but it was also just like pure drama and hospital and over-the-top Americans, I guess. And I'll always remember that my housemate, Jim, would rip on me. He would tease me, and he's like, "Oh, you love Grey's Anatomy. What the fuck are you on about, Ronan?" Yada, 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 with his weird accent and shit like that. And I was like, well, it's my guilty pleasure. It's like the one bullshit TV show I watch. And obviously it didn't last very long. I watched 1 season. I was done. One and done, you know. But the thing is, like, he absolutely loved the worst TV shows in history. He loved the most garbage TV shows ever. He loved Coronation Street. He loved Emmerdale, which are like these British soaps. He loved the worst of the worst TV shows. And he would just latch on to the fact that I watched 1 season of Grey's Anatomy, and then he would use that at all times when anyone criticized him. Whenever I criticized him about watching Coronation Street, watching Corrie, watching these brain dead Emmerdale bullshit TV shows. If you don't know what those ones are, Coronation Street, Emmerdale, I forget the other one I mentioned, but they're all bullshit. Absolute horrendous TV shows, like terrible writing, soap, drama, gossip, that kind of shit. But for me, Grey's Anatomy was a guilty pleasure. It's something you enjoy, even though it may not be highly regarded. And I guess those TV shows were his guilty pleasure, but they were absolutely horrendous. So guilty pleasure. I enjoy it. It's not highly regarded. So what is your guilty pleasure in terms of TV shows? Like, Criminal Minds was my guilty pleasure when I was younger. You know, it's not highly regarded. By no means is it the number 1 TV show, but it was entertaining. It was just something to watch. Something to kill time with. I'm not saying I'm a diehard fan of the characters, or I'll be upset if it were to get cancelled or something. But it's a guilty pleasure. I'll give it a watch. And sometimes you might be a little bit embarrassed about your guilty pleasure. Sometimes you might be ashamed of your guilty pleasure. So keep that in mind. Alright, before we finish up, there is one thing I want to share with you and talk about because I thought it was really cool. Alright, so the next part of this podcast might work better if you're watching it on YouTube, because I am going to share my screen and show you some things I was working at, but I'll do my best to just describe it. But essentially, I used ChatGPT to talk about Breaking Bad, one of my favorite TV shows. And what I'm doing this, I just want to show you how by using it, it can really help you understand or value a TV show more. So the first question I asked ChatGPT was, are you familiar with Breaking Bad? And ChatGPT obviously responded saying, yes, I'm familiar with Breaking Bad. It's a highly acclaimed US TV show created by Vince Gilligan. Thank you, Vince. 2008 to 2013, and follows the story of Walter White, a high school chemistry teacher turned methamphetamine manufacturer. Brilliant. As he descends into the criminal underworld. I love that. It's known for its drama, complex characters, and moral dilemmas. So I asked it another question, and if you're familiar with Breaking Bad, you'll know what I'm talking about. But why did Skyler not want Walt making meth? So why was Skyler opposed to Walt making methamphetamines? And if you've watched a TV show, maybe take a moment and try to answer that. But ChatGPT gave me 4 good reasons why. The first reason is moral objections, and she's morally opposed to Walt getting involved in the illegal drug trade. It's unethical, it's dangerous. So a moral objection is number 1. Number 2, concern for family. Number 3, a lack of transparency. And that is a huge part of Breaking Bad, where lies are always being told and Walt is trying to hide what he's doing from her. And as a result, it just causes more issues. So a lack of transparency is how you would describe that. And of course, there was a fear of consequences. Consequences for Walt, consequences for the family, consequences for everything like that. So like 4 good reasons on why she is not in favor of Walt making methamphetamines. But the best question I asked it was the one that you can see on screen now. Why did Walt cook meth? And this is why I think ChatGPT is going to be so useful for you learning English, or any AI product, I guess. So like, a lot of people think, why did he do it? And if you haven't seen the show, there are going to be some spoilers. So if you do want to watch Breaking Bad, stop listening because I'm going to spoil a lot of it for you. Heads up, spoiler alert. But, when you're watching a TV show, you think it's because he has cancer. You think it's because he needs money for cancer. And that's kind of like the catalyst. That's what kind of like kicks it all off. But as it goes on, we know that's not true. We know that's not the real reason he started to cook methamphetamine. Yeah, that got him into it. Yeah, that pushed him over the edge. But as time goes on, we know for a fact he's doing it out of ego. He's doing it for pride and his sense of empowerment. He's also incredibly good at it. And I don't know about you, but if you find something you're good at, it kind of like becomes a joy to do. It kind of becomes something that you really, really love to do. So I asked ChatGPT, why did Walt start cooking meth? And it gave me 5 reasons. Number 1, financial strain. Yes, he got cancer. He lives in the USA. He's a teacher. Good luck, motherfucker. USA, Uncle Sam, Freedom Land is not taking care of you. Take care of yourself. I love USA. Land of the free, they say. And then you get cancer. Now, number 2 was his cancer diagnosis, which is why he started to cook meth. Absolutely. He got lung cancer. He had to reevaluate his life, reevaluate his priorities, his legacy. He's faced with his own mortality, for example. And he wants his family to be taken care of, and drugs is a good way to do that. 3 was chemical expertise, which, yeah, we all know he's a genius. We all know that he's not only a genius, but he's a genius at chemistry, but not at business. And that shows because, he had a part of this huge company, Grey Matter or whatever they were called, and he sold his shares to buy a house, and he's now a high school teacher when he could have been a multi-millionaire, billionaire maybe. He could have changed the world with how good he is at chemistry. But he decided to forgo all of that and go the secure route. And as a result, he's in his 40s or 50s and having basically a crisis, a huge crisis, evaluating his life, thinking, did I make the right decision or did I screw up by doing this? And then number 4 and 5 of what ChatGPT gave me were my favorite. So number 4, a sense of empowerment, and number 5, ego and pride. And that to me is the real reason why Walt started to cook meth. Yeah, it started, like I said, the catalyst was the cancer, but the real reason was the empowerment. He loved the power he had. He loved the fact that he said, I am the danger. And if you've watched Breaking Bad, you know what I mean when I say I am the danger. By far one of the best scenes ever in Breaking Bad. So he has this huge sense of empowerment, and because he started to excel in the drug world, in the underworld, because he started to get rich, he feels like a big dick. He's swinging his big dick all over the place. He's like, I'm the fucking man now. I'm the one in charge now. And I gotta thank ChatGPT for bringing that shit up, because the way they word it is absolutely fantastic. Ego and pride. Oh my God, yeah. His motivation, according to ChatGPT, becomes increasingly complex. His involvement in the drug trade feeds his ego. There's a nice phrase, to feed an ego or to feed pride. And he becomes more enamored with the power and respect that comes with being a successful methamphetamine manufacturer. Not just successful, the best methamphetamine manufacturer. So his reasons to cook meth and get involved in the illicit drug trade were not just for his family, we might say. You know, maybe it started off with that, but he talks about it in the season finale, or maybe the penultimate one, the one just before this season finale, where he's talking to Skylar and he says, "I'm sorry, I did it for me. I did it because I finally made something of myself." So, you know, he's a man who feels like a loser his entire life, and then he decides to make meth and ruin people's lives. And that's the other side of the TV show that I really like about Breaking Bad. It's like, at the start of this podcast, I spoke about how a well-written TV show will make you love a character, hate a character, feel sorry for a character, want a character to survive, want a character to die. And Breaking Bad really nails that on the head. Like, they really hit that nail on the head, excuse me. They nailed it. They hit it on the head. I love when I mix idioms, but that's what they do. And by the end of it, like, there's so many times I wanted Walt to die. I wanted Jesse to do this. I wanted Jesse to do that. And it's just like so frustrating, right? But that's how good that TV show is. It's full of twists and turns. It's gripping. And it ended at the perfect time. I'm glad they didn't milk it. I'm glad they didn't reboot it. I'm glad they didn't have one more season or shit like that. They decided, you know what? We're telling our story this way, and that's it done. So, wow, what is happening, folks? That's a good podcast. What do you think? Talking about the rise and falls of TV shows. The rise and fall of different TV shows. So this all came from one of my students asking me, talking about The Office and how, you know, it was great. Then it was hit and miss. And at the end it was somewhat shitty, which happens quite a lot. So that show petered out. That show fizzled out. It had a terrible ending. Can you think of the time when they jumped the shark in that show? Is there anything desperate that they did to try hold on to the viewer's attention? You know? Did it go on too long, or did it go off the rails? Did it run out of steam? Can you think of a TV show that is thought-provoking or action-packed or uplifting? I must be honest, I'm a big fan of dark TV shows, and sometimes I'm a big fan of binge-worthy ones. It depends on what I'm doing and how much time I have. If I'm sick or something, you bet I'm turning on a binge-worthy TV show and just letting the days go by. Anyways, I hope you are happy. I hope you are healthy. I hope you're having a fantastic day. If you've any requests, drop them off. You can email me, ronan@littlesealenglish.com. It's very easy. Telegram me if you're part of my group. If you're not, you fucking should be. And yeah, have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye for now, folks.